Thank you, Marat. So the Voyager mission is that intersection of exploration, our first apical reconnaissance of the outer solar system, our first close-up look at 60 new worlds. It's also scientific research in that it's telling us the actual shape of the solar system as we move through the galaxy, and much more than that. But it's also a cultural and emotional and even a spiritual artifact for the human species. We are looking at the Golden Voyager record, which contains some 27 pieces of music. It's considered, in fact, the origin of that concept of world music. 116 pictures of what life on Earth is like, from our most beautiful buildings to human beings and the other creatures with which we share this planet. Greetings in some 50 languages, including the beautiful songs of the humpback whales, and 5 languages that are no longer spoken, ancient languages with no speakers, as well as the most populous languages spoken on Earth today. And there's a sound essay on it, which includes a mother's first words to her newborn baby, and a baby's first cry, the brainwaves of a woman newly fallen in love, the sound of the geological history of the Earth, its biological evolution, and our technology, and what was then our recording of the most distant object, which was a pulsar. And all of this is, may I have the next slide, please, is encased in a golden cover, engraved with scientific hieroglyphics, instructions for play to the putative extraterrestrials we imagine might intercept it one day. And as you can see, that circle is the record itself, with the stylus that we included for play. You know, this is the 1970s when people were listening to records, and I'm really excited about the fact that musicians and lovers of music are returning to records as being richer in sound and information than digital recording. And there's also an atomic clock, which will date when the record was launched and when the message was sent, and then our address in the galaxy, the 16 closest pulsars, just to give a little sense of where this came from. Now, I'd like you to listen to some of the sounds and some of the music included on Voyager. These are only tiny snippets of a much longer Voyager message, as well as to see just a handful of the images that are included on Voyager. And I ask you to imagine yourself an extraterrestrial who knows nothing of our planet and who's getting a first glimpse of what life on Earth is like and what it sounds like. Thank you. Let's please play it.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
that gives you just some idea of the Voyager record. You know, it was originally the idea of Carl Sagan and Frank Drake to send this message because of this gravitational assist from the massive planet Jupiter. The two Voyager spacecraft were flung out of the solar system and are expected to wander at speeds of something like 40,000 miles an hour through interstellar space for 1,000 million years. And the geniuses who designed the mission trajectories so that these two spacecraft could rendezvous with these planets and moons and flawlessly send back to us these images of the outer solar system. And the idea that this spacecraft is still functioning, that a young person in the audience today, a child in this audience, it's possible they could come to maturity and become a scientist or a technician or a mathematician or an engineer. And the Voyagers will still be thriving. This is the result of the genius of NASA. And I'd like to show a few pictures of the men and women who were involved in the Voyager mission. In those days, it was largely men, and I'm happy to point to the shift in the ratio here on the panel today. But these guys, you know, they did something that is absolutely the equal of Magellan or Columbus or any of the great explorers of terrestrial discovery. And yet, how many of us know the name Charlie Colhayes or Gary Flandreau or Michael Minovich? These guys should be on the stamps because, you know, if we don't value the genius behind building a machine with 1970s technology, you know, virtually out of transistors, to that one that functions so brilliantly today, and to be able to do this exploring for us. If we don't value their contribution, then is it any wonder that so few of our children are really interested in doing what they did? So I just wanted to say what an amazing contribution to our civilization, and the fact that perhaps 100 million years ago or 500 million years ago, Voyager's greatest triumph is yet to come. It will sing for us and speak for us long after the very continents of our planet have changed. That's an epical achievement. And I think when people ask, you know, why spend money on space exploration when we have so many problems here? Well, that's a perfectly good question. But I think we have to do both things. And I think that the Voyager has exceeded its design specifications and the loftiest dreams of its makers. And I'd like to go back to the family portrait of our solar system and to talk about the maturity of our species, that we are now in a position to look at the other worlds of our solar system only 400 years after Galileo's first look through a telescope. This is the awesome power of the scientific method. And looking at that family portrait, I'm reminded of the fact that Carl Sagan, who was a member of the Voyager imaging team and very much involved in the project, he asked that Voyager's cameras be turned to look homeward one last time before they were turned off, to take one last picture. And he was largely responsible for urging NASA to take this image of our world, not the Apollo frame-filling world, which in itself was a major paradigm shift for our culture and our civilization globally. But now to see us in something that reflects more clearly our true circumstances in the cosmos, that pale blue dot in that circle. And I'd like to close this phase of our talk with the words of Carl Sagan in his meditation on that image and what it could mean for all of us. Thank you.
Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.